What to expect when the show returns in season 3. It didn't have an epic climactic conclusion like we got when the first season ended 2 years ago. But at least we know there is more on the horizon with some epic battles just around the corner and some character deaths that will most likely be emotional and take us by surprise. I thought I'd take a look at all that's currently out there about season 3 of the Game of Thrones spin-off show and also give my theories and predictions on what I think will happen next. So let's get into it. Here is House of the Dragon Season 3. Everything we know the story in this section will contain spoilers from the novel, so please be careful if you're choosing to listen ahead, as if you don't want any spoilers from the book. This is going to have a lot of them. I'll be touching on the main plots that I think we could see occurring in the show, based on what we've seen so far. The final episode of Season 2 of House of the Dragon very much felt like it was setting up one of the first major battles that we're going be seeing in Season 3. This is an infamous battle that will cost the life of a character that as he's destined for greatness. And this is called the Battle of the Gullet. This is a battle that occurs primarily on sea, and it's between the Greens, which specifically utilize Thailand, Lannister, and the newly formed alliance that he made with the Triarchy and the Blacks, which is specifically focused on Lord Kids. Valerian Allen and the Queen that never was with all of its men on board, as well as that Hugh Hammer UL Adam and Jaehaerys too from the sky. The divide that's been put in place and set up between Jaehaerys and the new Dragon Riders is something which I think is going to get tied into that battle. The Battle of the Gullet is one which the Triarchy do eventually go on to lose, allowing the Blacks to gain some advantage. However, Jaehaerys ultimately ends up falling victim to the battle, I think, within the show. He's going to be going along with them because he's going to feel as though he's superior and want to prove himself. Jaehaerys has this complex of making it out like the others aren't worthy of being there, and that so I reckon he's going to ultimately do too much in the battle, and that will cause his demise and put him in a situation where he's vulnerable. Another main part of the story that I think we'll see in the next season is that of Hugh Hammer and switching sides and going over to the Greens. I think the seed was already planted in the finale. UL showed his true character and showed that he wasn't going to follow the rules until he was awarded the title of a knight. Whilst he was speaking in jest, this is something that he does kind of mean. I imagine they're going to be awarded the title of knight following their contribution in the Battle of the Gullet. But as time goes on, the lifestyle that they're now going to be leading and enjoying is going to go to their head even more and feel as though they want more. It's said that they believe that they deserve the title given it. They switched sides because the opportunity to progress themselves showed itself on the other side of the war. This is something that could almost prove Jace's point. Right from beyond the grave, he was always worried about handing that much power over to people that weren't raised as traditional Targaryens. And by two dragons switching sides, that will prove to be massive, especially considering Rhaenyra's strength is pretty much coming from the fact that she has more dragons than the others, as well as that in the finale. There was something else which was teased, which could be on the horizon for Season 3. This is the long-awaited battle that we're hopefully going to be seeing between Daemon and Jon, the two characters, which had very similar storylines and mindsets in Season 2. They both had the desire to go behind their leader's back in order to claim the throne for themselves. Plus, they were also overlooked when they were younger, due to being the second sibling. When Helena spoke with Aemon, she mentioned to him that his destiny was focused around him being swallowed up in the God's Eye and never being seen again. Well, the God's Eye is a lake that's actually near Harrenhal, where a battle between Daemon and Caraxes and Aemon and Vhagar will occur. This is a battle in which both Aemon and Daemon will fall victim to the wrath of one another. It's said that Daemon takes the one remaining eye of Aemon before they dive into the water, and Aemon and Daemon both die whilst in the river and get swallowed by the God's Eye like Helena's prophecy stated, and almost exactly like what Daemon saw in his vision. So that's something which could arguably be the biggest moment that we've had in the show so far. Two major character deaths at once. It's clear to see that Alicent has switched sides as well, being prepared to allow her son Aegon to die, in order for peace to be restored amongst the realm, which would allow Rhaenyra to ascend. The throne, however, with Alicent promising easy passage and the head of her son Aegon to Rhaenyra, with him being gone, and Rhaenyra needing Aegon to be dead to eliminate any kind of challenge to the throne, I think that will mean that the route with less bloodshed is going to be void, and it won't be able to take place. Hence the battles which were going to be going on. To see, however, with Aemon going off, it will leave King's Landing undefended, and with Daemon and the Riverland army in support of Rhaenyra storming the capital, and Alicent actually allowing Rhaenyra to arrive and take the throne, that could prove to be one of the first major losses for A. And the Grain, one thing to notice well, is that we're also finally going to be meeting Daeron. This is Alicent's other son that we haven't ever met before. All we know is that he wasn't raised by her, and he's actually thriving as an individual, something which made Alicent question if the way that she raised her children was what contributed to the destructive nature of them. We don't know the personality traits that Daeron is going to have, but it is said that he is the keer one out of them all. However, we do know that he has a dragon, called Tyrion. It's going to be interesting to see him when he crosses paths with his mother and also his brother and sister. So that's an exciting prospect. Another exciting prospect as well is the idea of Rhaena finally being able to bond with a dragon. In the closing moment, she found the wild dragon that was being spoken about called Sheepstealer, and I think we're going to be seeing the both of them pairing together. Rhaena has felt like she's lacked a purpose in Rhaenyra tactics, so this will finally allow her to feel as though she can contribute towards the fight. Once the book is there to be followed, the show has already taken in some creative liberties with the altering of storylines and characters. So once the book is a good reference point, you never know. Some things could get changed. The release date. The main question that's on everybody's mind following the ending of Season 2 is, when will the next season be out? Well, sadly, it's probably looking like there's going to be another 2-year gap between the seasons as it hasn't gone into production at all yet. Word on the street is that they've started working on the story and writing it, but that's the farthest they've got in terms of the gap between Season 1 and Season 2. That was around 2 years, so I think it's safe to assume that we're most probably going to be waiting for that amount of time. Yet again, I don't mind waiting if the quality's there. And to be honest, this is a show that's always been worth the wait, so I wouldn't expect it anytime soon. One piece of good news for certain, though, is that the show is definitely returning for its 3rd season. House of the Dragon has been renewed up to Season 3, and then the future beyond that is up in the air. The showrunners have previously said that they want to tell this story within 3 or 4 seasons. So unless when Season 3 gets announced they give it the tagline of it being the final season, I would probably expect that the show could run for 4 seasons, which means that we'd have at least 4 years until the show comes to its conclusion. But time will tell with that. Outside of House of the Dragon, we did also get a first look at the next Game of Thrones spin-off series, which is titled A King of the Seven Kingdoms. This show is going to be set 100 years before Game of Thrones, and apparently 100 years after House of the Dragon. It's also got a 2025 release date, so at least there will be some kind of Game of Thrones fix for us to watch in the meantime, between the 2-year break, unfortunately for now. That's all that's known about Season 3.